It's time for the moment you've been waiting for. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Tsh. Da 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 da. Di da di di da di di da 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 da.
What's going on, everybody? As you can see, we have a new Master Duel ban list, and I want to talk about it because I have some likes, I have some dislikes, but the general discourse that I've seen online is that everybody hates this ban list. And here's the thing, right? I actually think this is a pretty solid ban list, but the problem is that there's so many lingering issues with Master Duel that if they don't just outright ban the things people have been asking for since like the dawn of time, people are going to view every ban list as bad. Which in theory, they're actually correct, but you know, from a Konami perspective, they've put themselves in a bad position. So let's talk about this ban list and what people are talking about they will like to have seen banned. So let's start off with what's being forbidden. Baguska or whatever it's called. This hit, I'm gonna be honest, is kind of useless. And I'm sorry my hair is disappearing. My lighting in here isn't great. I was just opening cards. I was like, oh, ban list. Okay, listen. This hit isn't that great because it doesn't really do anything. So I'm assuming the purpose of this hit was to neuter Raziel. So if you don't know, if you play Raziel, if you don't know what this card does, let's start there. The whole basis of this card is that if it's in defense, it negates everything that's face up. It just negates it. And then essentially ruins your opponent's turn. The way to stop this, if you have to have a card that can just, a spell or a trap card that can negate immediately. Something like Imperm, right? If it's your turn and you pop Imperm on this card, 9 times out of 10 your opponent is going to quit. But that is the purpose of this card. So we were seeing this with Raziel players because if, let's say you pop Max C, they go into this, or if you play Raziel, if you're going against another Raziel, they'll go against this, they'll pop this, you can't do anything your turn, they get their turn back, they make this attack, they get full combo, right? Essentially, if they have something, even if they just have Fuelos or something like that. So this is meant to hit Raziel. Now the problem is, there's other ways to kind of, for Raziel, like this doesn't make Raziel really any weaker. This kind of just, I don't know, in a sense it makes it weaker, but it doesn't really stop what Raziel is really good at. This is just, like the Raziel players will just find another card that can do similar things. This does stop them from being able to go to this and just stop other people's turn, but it doesn't really stop what Raziel is good at. So I think even banning this card, Raziel is going to be still strong. The reason I'm not a huge fan of banning this card is that there's other decks outside of Raziel that really need this card. So you just basically neutered a bunch of other decks to attack Raziel, and then Raziel is just like, well, this is fine, I can play around this. So I'm not entirely a huge, like, I get why they did it. In hindsight, like, I agree, like, you know, this card's kind of annoying. But I don't know if the benefit outweighs, because Raziel is still super strong. Without this card, Raziel is super strong, and there's decks that really depend on this card. So now those decks are just basically neutered. So that's kind of how I feel about that. Now what's limited? What we have here is 3 really big Malice hits. If you don't know, if you haven't played Master Duel, Malice has been running rampant. Now this is what this does. Malice is still very strong. Do not get me wrong. Malice is still strong. The end board to Malice, if they still get to their end board, you're still cooked. What they nerfed is Malice openers. So the Malice deck isn't as consistent as it was before, right? Obviously, this is their opener. You got to go to Sarcophagus. So it basically nerfed a lot of things that start the Malice combo and kind of puts you in a better situation. It makes it less consistent, which is good. Obviously, I still think this deck is very good. If they get to their end board, then you're cooked. This just kind of helps with consistency of the deck, which I think is a pretty good hit to start with. I think this is a good start. I still think we'll see this deck be very strong, but I do think this was a solid hit. A lot of people disagree. A lot of people feel like these Malice hits are useless. Yes, there's other things they can add to their deck to help with the consistency, but I think this is a step in the right direction. Let's go to the weird things. For starters, Raigeki is back at 3. This is what really confuses me about Konami, and I'm going to talk about this is in combination with everything that was lifted, right? So Raigeki is back to 3. I never got rid of my Raigeki, so it's like whatever. So Raigeki is back to 3, which is like, okay, bit weird. And they basically put Yubel back to where it was. So Nightmare Throne is back to 3. Opening the Spirit Gates is back to 3. Dark Beckoning Beast is back to 3. Pearly, I don't know any. I'm assuming this helps Pearly. I don't know anything about Pearly except that it's annoying. So let's talk about the Yubel stuff, and then we obviously. I don't know if this helps Blue Eyes a lot. If like it helps them, obviously, Sage and Eyes of Blue. But I think the Maiden, if Maiden got buffed, it would help them more. But whatever, who cares? Anyway, let's talk about the Yubel stuff. This is where my problem comes in with Konami. Why do they go? They nerf these decks, like Yubel got hit, right? This happened forever ago. And then they come back and they're like, we're just going to put these cards back at what they were. And I never understood the concept of them doing that. Like, if you're going to nerf a deck, here's the problem with these ban lists. When you see a bunch of these, people have asked for the same cards to be banned. And this goes into a broader sense of the issue of how Master Duel and how Konami handles balance changes, right? People wanted Max C banned. Max C got limited from 3 to 2. That honestly, that does nothing. It literally does nothing. So people have been asking for Max C to get banned. Appaloosa hit really. Appaloosa hit helps a lot, right? Appaloosa and Maxi bans really help a lot. People have been asking for Appaloosa to get banned. That's probably the big one I've seen today, where people are just dumbfounded how they have not banned Appaloosa. Appaloosa is a pain in the butt, especially when they're playing with Malice, because it basically just protects Malice players to be able to do whatever they want. If Appaloosa gets on the board, you're essentially cooked. Well, you're not cooked, but you're in a bad situation. So those are two cards that I keep seeing consistently that people won't ban. And for some reason, Konami just refuses to ban them. So when you see ban lists like this, even if I think this is an okay ban list, I think this ban list is probably like a 6 or 7 out of 10, right? The openers for Malice got hit. That's basically what I wanted. The Raziel hit is kind of useless. The Yubel stuff, it's like, whatever. Who cares? All right. Yubel is back at whatever it was. I think it's just Konami, it feels like when they're balancing things, they're just kind of doing things randomly. Like you hear the community, it's like, bro, Appaloosa, Maxi are terrible. Why aren't you nerfing this card? And they're like, so y'all want Raigeki back at 3. It's like so tone deaf that it doesn't make any sense. Like I said, the Yubel stuff is confusing to me because it's like, okay, Konami, you nerf Yubel. All right, let's live with that. You nerf Yubel, Yubel players like whatever. Why are we going back and buffing Yubel? And I think the problem with that is, even if you did, I think these in general are too small. I think these ban lists are too small. I think they should be bigger. Why are they always so small? Why are we buffing Yubel? There's so many decks in Master Duel that can really use some help. There's so many decks in Master Duel. Literally so many that like people ask like for support, whether it's support, which is new cards, or bringing back old cards that maybe were banned that really neutered that deck. Why are we buffing Yubel? Which is, in my opinion, Yubel players might feel differently. Obviously, if you play a deck, you feel differently about how it's balanced. Yubel players, I think, were in the fine position. All right, well, they really didn't need this. I don't understand. But anyway, that could be the hater in me coming out. But I feel like the problem with these lists is that until Konami bans Max C, until Konami bans Appaloosa, all of these ban lists will be looked at in a negative light because they've put themselves in a lose-lose situation. Because essentially they're just telling people that they aren't listening to the people. They aren't listening to the community, right? And that's just something Konami has to take on the chin, where it's like, y'all have put yourself in this situation. Because I'm looking at this ban list, and I'm like, okay, I think this ban list is fine. But everybody is so fed up with the current state of Master Duel. They're so fed up with Max C and Appaloosa's still being very active in this game, still controlling games way too much, especially Max C, that no matter what Konami does, no matter what Konami bans, no matter what Konami adds, until Max C and Appaloosa are dealt with, people will always feel this way about ban lists. So it's a sticky situation. It's very odd. These are always feel like these are really small. It always feels like these Master Duel ban lists should be longer than they are. They end up being like only a few cards, and you're like, in the back of your mind, you're like, bro, there's a billion cards that can be nerfed. There's a billion cards that can be buffed. Why are we like hitting just small amounts of cards? So I would personally give this ban list like a 6 or a 7. I don't think it's bad, but if you think about it in the general sense of everything else that is going on in this game, it's going to be like a 2 out of 10 for most people, because they want Appaloosa banned, they want Max C banned, and it comes off as tone deaf when the entire community is asking for these cards to be banned. And you're like, no, let's put Raigeki back at 3. Like, let's buff Yubel. Like, things not really people were asking for. Like, nobody really asked for this. Maybe Yubel players. So, this is a ban list where, yeah, they've put themselves in a bad position. Obviously, there's a lot of things to be done in this game. And I'm like, I have no confidence in Konami's ability to be able to put this game in a state where everybody will be happy. If they add Genesis, people are very excited about the Genesis format. And I'm concerned about the Genesis format, because I'm not concerned about the actual Genesis format, because I think that will be fun. I am not confident in Konami's ability to implement Genesis format into Master Duel. I just don't think they will. What I think will happen, and I pray this doesn't happen, is that Genesis is gonna come out in TCG. Well, it's already out, whatever. I think it's already out. Maybe people are already playing the Genesis format. They're going to do an event at some point towards the end of this year. Maybe soon. Who knows? They're gonna do an event. It's gonna be like, oh, try out the Genesis format, newly released format in the TCG. And you're gonna have like a 1 or 2 week Genesis format event that's going to go away after that. And you're never going to see it again. And that is my biggest fear when it comes to people talking about the Genesis format. And I'm like, I get people being excited about the format, but I'm also confused, because I'm like, why are y'all so sure that Konami is going to add Genesis format into Master Duel? They have not added any other formats. They have not added the tag duels that y'all wanted. They have not added rush duels. They have not added any alternative formats into this game. So why are we so confident that they're going to add Genesis format? And I'm going to be honest, I am not that confident that they're going to do it. So we will see. Only time will tell. If they do, I'll be very happy about it, obviously. But let me know in the comment section what you guys think about this ban list. Do you like it? Do you hate it? Do you think it's useless? Does it not bother you at all? What are some decks you think, or some cards you think should have got buffed? What are some cards you think should have got nerfed? I already know what all the comments are going to say. You'll be like, Max C and Appaloosa. I already know, okay? But as always, everybody, happy dueling.